Hello, welcome again to FAIRtax Power Radio. I'm Bob Paxton,
I'm Bob Scarborough.
and we are the FAIRtax Guys. Opening up the new year as we always do with our Fat Albert Rubik's Cube and the scrolling banner that only the people watching the video can see. If you're listening on the radio station or the audio podcast, you just have to take our word for it that that's what we're doing.
It's a design marvel, the scrolling banner, and it fits in your shirt pocket if you need to carry it around with you. And somebody will say, "What is that sticking out of your shirt pocket?" And you can deploy the FairTax scrolling banner. And you want to
Yeah,
get one of these today. You need to get one right now. Well, after the show's over anyway. And have them when you are going around to your neighborhood, in your neighborhood, or on a street corner, or at a town hall meeting where you can show this as part of the crowd.
I
It-
have,
it-
I have, I have another idea for you.
yes,
You need to go over to the Coliseum, sit behind the basket at the next Wake Forest basketball game, and when
how
somebody's shooting free throws, you give them the fair pass.
long do you think they'd let me sit down there and do that unless they knew who I was? Which
Well,
they,
oh, you're a big radio personality. They'd probably let you in for free.
if I don't walk in backwards, they'd think I was leaving.
Oh, mercy. Okay. Well, Happy New Year to you.
Hey, Happy New
Uh,
Year to you and all of you out there too. We appreciate you being with us
yeah,
here at
actually, I don't know if this is a Happy New Year or not because we are recording this on Thursday, the 28th of December, which is a few days before the Rose Bowl is being played. And as you can see by the big A on my shirt, you know who I'm pulling for. So by the time this actually streams, I don't know if Alabama will have won that game or not. But hopefully so, and it will be a happy new year with the Crimson Tide moving on to play for the national championship. But as of our recording day, I don't know if that's going to happen or not. So whatever. Totally
I,
irrelevant to the fair tax, but that's it is relevant to whether it's a happy new year or not.
I thought the A stood for Atlanta. I couldn't tell that it was the, well, no, I
No,
knew.
no, this is the Alabama Crimson Tide A, which is somewhat similar to the one that the Atlanta Braves use.
Yeah.
But you know that my brother went to Alabama. He still lives in Tuscaloosa. He actually sent me for Christmas a red jacket with this same A on it. So this is a shirt I bought. But I've now got an Alabama jacket. So hopefully they will have won the ball game, and we will see about that. But anyway, we as I say, we went through our 2023 tax proposal Hall of Shame last week here on FairTax Power Radio. So we are set to start a new 2024 tax proposal Hall of Shame here on FairTax Power Radio. But unfortunately, looking at the Congress.gov for this week, there's the same old stuff a lot of stuff we normally see. I didn't really see anything that I thought was Hall of Shame worthy. But we will go through and see what the Congress critters are up to here at the beginning of the new year. Again, what we do, we go to congress.gov, put the words Internal Revenue Code in quotes at the top of the search bar. And as of the day we're recording this, again, December 28th, 1,347 hits on that search. So that's what the Congress critters are trying to do to the tax code. And at the top of the list is H.R. 6861, 6861, a bill to amend the Internal Revenue Code to provide, another one, a refundable credit against tax for wildfire mitigation expenditures. uh, that
Means
is
of building fences and
that's
cleaning park benches and things like that.
yeah, that's Kevin Kiley from California District 3. But HR 6861, a refundable credit against tax for wildfire mitigation expenditures. Well, I guess they have a lot of fires in California. I know they do. So I guess that's why this is coming from there.
Sure.
All right, let's move on here. This is HR 6857, 6857, to amend the Internal Revenue Code to modernize health savings accounts and for other purposes. Again, these health savings accounts as set up under the Internal Revenue Code let you don't put money into those health savings accounts free tax, so you can fund those things without paying tax on the money that you're putting in there. And then you take it out. There are restrictions on what you can use it for. A better idea. Why don't we just do away entirely with pre-tax and after-tax dollars, pass the fair tax, then everyone can save for their health care needs. They can save for their education. They can save for their retirement. They can save for whatever they want to save for. If they want to go to Alaska next summer, you can save for anything and everything tax-free with the fair tax, and we don't need these special health savings accounts that the government tells you how much of your own money you could put into and what you can spend it on. How's that sound?
It sounds like a great idea to me. And the economic boom that will take place when the fair tax is passed will blanket. I mean, people have no idea what you can't even conceive of the potential, not only economically, but and we talk about this a lot in terms of the things that go on in your head psychologically, having to deal with all that we have to deal with. And now I guess we're here at the first of the year. We're in tax season, and you have a lot of the CPAs and the tax filing people out there. We'll start to see the Statue of Liberty dressed individuals out there on the street corners here pretty soon. And the big TVs that you see at the box stores will go on sale just in time for the Super Bowl, and hopefully everybody will have their tax refund in a time. But as we say, if you just can consider for a moment the fair tax and how it will make things happen, not only in our own personal lives, but also in business and in terms of making tax season something that is non-existent anymore with regard to the income tax.
Yes, we will make tax season great again by getting rid of it. So who knows?
That's right.
All right, let's scoot on. Next item on the list here is H.R. 6833, 6833. I dig this. To amend the Internal Revenue Code to improve and enhance the work opportunity tax credit, to encourage longer service employment, and to modernize the credit to make it more effective as a hiring incentive for targeted workers and for other purposes. I got a better idea again. Let's pass the fair tax, light off the economic growth that is going to happen, and then you will have lots of incentives for people to come to work for you because the people will be begging for workers that will be creating jobs here in the United States. And that is a better way to do it than this work opportunity tax credit. And that is Lloyd Smucker from Pennsylvania.
Can you imagine just the complexity of the tax code? They get down into the minutia of economic activity, which almost makes it impossible for there to be an explosive and innovative type of opportunity.
All right, one more here. H.R. 6816. Do you see a pattern here yet? This is the next one, H.R. 6818, to amend the Internal Revenue Code to provide employers a credit against employment and income taxes for certain employee training expenses. Now, as we mentioned this, the credit for this, the work opportunity tax credit for, just this, that, and the other. There are so many credits and deductions and stuff thrown into the Internal Revenue Code that it's just impossible for people to understand it all. It's impossible for that to be fair when some people are getting tax credits and others aren't. We need to get rid of the entire kit and caboodle and replace it with the fair tax. Even though I imagine providing employers a credit against income taxes for employee training expenses, somebody will probably look at that and say that's a good thing. That's Representative Ashley Henson from Iowa.
Great.
That's all you got to say about that?
Right. And the whole thing is you're dealing with one industry or one business category that gets affected by this, but now you've got layers upon layers of writing and legislation that goes along with the introduction of these bills. It's insane. Can you imagine? I mean, I envision a day where you and I will be just having a conversation over Cheerwine and Mr. Barbecue, for example.
Oh, yes.
And not have to worry about But we are passionate folks about the fair tax because we understand we've been at it a long time, and we understand the benefits that will occur. And we understand why there's so much pushback in Washington, D.C. about it, because it is so revolutionary for the citizenry of our country that we know that it's going to be great for us. People in Washington are trying to figure out how to keep their foot in and keep their hand in the trough of all the economic activity that happens for them because of the tax code.
Yes, it's called lobbyist cash, and they need it to get reelected. So hopefully we can replace all this junk that picks winners and losers and decides what people get a break and what people don't, and what industries get a break and what industries don't. It's just not fair. We need to get rid of the whole thing and replace it with the fair tax. And so that will be it for the Congress.gov segment. This first show of 2024. You can tell it's been a long day already, but
It's 2024.
it is 2024, and I would imagine within the next few weeks here, we'll find some more stuff that we can kick off the 2024 Hall of Shame with. But so far, that's it. But let's move on here on the first program of 2024. Let's just kind of sit back and take a state of the fair tax. You know, there will be the State of the Union address coming up in a matter of a few weeks. So we'll just look at the state of the fair tax, and I'll say that there are some things to be excited and encouraged about. And unfortunately, there's some things to be not so excited or so encouraged about as 2024 starts. But I think there's more on the good side than on the bad side, even though as we start 2024, by this time, we should have had Kevin McCarthy's promise to bring the fair tax to a vote gone off as scheduled. When that first came up about this time last year, when McCarthy had to make that concession to win the speakership that he would allow the fair tax to come to a vote, everyone was kind of expecting that would come around Labor Day, but that didn't happen. And of course, now we've got a new speaker, and I guess he's not under a legal obligation to do the same thing that McCarthy said it was, although we have heard several people say that he probably will, because he still has to answer to the same people that held McCarthy's feet to the fire. But hopefully we will be getting our vote on the fair tax here sometime this year. And I still think it's going to happen.
Well, considering, and we can talk about AFFT President Steve Hayes's presentation during the hearing a number of weeks ago now. I think that went well. You can scroll a few episodes back and actually see some of the video there. And of course, on the FAIRtax YouTube channel, the entire hearing that it was the tax subcommittee of the House Ways and Means Committee that our president, Steve Hayes, spoke at. Really encouraging. And his comments were thoughtful and made an impact, but he was hit so many times by those folks that have their feet against the door to keep the fair tax door from opening. They were just without a doubt on a mission to turn off everything that Steve was saying.
Yeah, well, I say Steve said that it was a lot of political theater, more so than a concerted effort that they really want to get in and make a better tax code. That both sides were kind of trying to get their political points in. The Republicans were touting the success of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, and the Democrats were taking shots at the fair tax every time they could. Again, reading from prepared scripts. So again, but the fact that what's really encouraging to me in that thing was that Steve was there at the invitation of, I think his name's Jason Smith. He's the chair of the entire House Ways and Means Committee. The subcommittee they were talking to had a different chair. But Steve was there because the chair of the overall Ways and Means Committee invited him to be there. So obviously he is aware of the fair tax and wants to at least give it a fair hearing. And I am absolutely convinced if people can put the partisanship aside on both sides and
Yes.
just look at the pure merits of the plan versus the income tax that it's designed to replace, or versus a VAT or any other proposal that a flat tax, any other proposal that somebody may make, if you can look just strictly at the merits of the plan with an open mind, without any partisan blinders on, I think the fair tax wins that by a country mile. No, I mean, the flat tax is still an income tax. There's still withholding. There's still the IRS. You still have to fill out a tax return. It won't stay flat. All of that goes away with a fair tax. And I don't know anybody on either side of the political aisle that would not like to have more money in their paycheck, get a tax refund, get the prebate every month, and never have to file a tax return again. You do not have to be of a particular political persuasion to think that's a good thing.
And I agree. And I think the folks, if you had a quiet moment with one of the representatives uh, on either side of the aisle, it wouldn't matter. And so, as a personal friend of that person, and in a moment, an unofficial conversation, you would ask, this fair tax thing seems like it's a pretty good deal. John, what do you think of it? Joe, whatever, whoever your childhood is now holding office, why can't we get this done? And see what they say. If they turn into politician mode, or if they remain your friend, and just as a matter of being honest, they could say, well, yeah, it is pretty good. However, I don't think it's going to pass, or whatever their response might be. But I do believe that our representatives can warm up to this. And as we have discussed many times on the program here, if it comes right down to it, are you going to drive that Lamborghini 500, 250 miles an hour off the cliff if you had something that would keep you from doing that? The Lamborghini, of course, being the economy of the United States of America, our solvency in terms of finances. I think people are in Washington are going to have to start looking at something that is a radical change, a revolutionary change from where we are now. And folks, this is where our listeners and folks that are watching on the various channels, streaming channels, this is where you come in and present to your neighbors, your friends, people that you come in contact with. Use the scrolling banner at public events, like Bob said. It's not a bad idea. I wouldn't mind going seeing a basketball game here. I think that we have the opportunity to do that. And I heard one of the commentators on radio say the other day, we are the leaders that we're looking for. We always say, well, we need somebody to go to Washington and do this and this, and we need to find somebody to do that. And we're actually, I'm speaking of our listeners and ourselves in some cases, we are the leaders that we're looking for, and it starts at the grassroots level, and that's I think where we are is building a groundswell of support that starts with each one of us one at a time going and seeing 5 or 10 people and having them go see 5 or 10 and say, and then people really start considering it, going, yeah, man, this makes sense. And put aside all the media. And I think that's the big thing. Turn to television and turn to radio where you hear the sound bites, and just turn that stuff off for a minute and think about the benefits that the fair tax will bring, eliminating the Internal Revenue Service being a primary benefit of passage.
Absolutely. I was also encouraged that Steve noted that there were a couple of Democrats that didn't just stick to the pure partisanship. There were a couple of Democrats up there that he talked to that were willing to listen to what he had to say, and they're trying to get a meeting with him. We're going to that in a good bit more detail next week here on FAIRtax Power Radio. We'll get into those. But as we start with 2024, one thing I'd like to do, we haven't done this in a while, is we would like to recognize and publicly honor and thank those who are co-sponsors of HR 25. So as the year starts, Well, you can go to congress.gov and instead of putting Internal Revenue Code in quotes in the search bar, just put HR 25, and that will bring up the Fair Tax Act for 2023 is the name of it. And it lists all the co-sponsors. So I would like to go through the list of co-sponsors. If you live in one of these districts, please make sure to thank your representative for being on the bill. If your representative is not on the list, then we need to go lean on him or her and see if we can get this added to. Let's start. There were several people. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Start
6,
by, are we
7,
going to
8, 9, 10, 11. Looked like about 11 of them that signed up all on the same day, right as soon as Congress opened. And that included Representative Andrew Clyde of Georgia. Of course, Buddy Carter from Georgia is the official sponsor, is the primary sponsor. These other people are co-sponsors. So thank you, Andrew Clyde from Georgia, District 9.
That's right. And we're going through these by the date of the co-sponsorship.
Yes.
And on congress.gov, you can actually sort by state. So if you live in North Carolina, you can click on sort by state and jump down and see how many people in North Carolina are supporting and then by what they sponsor. But starting out, Andrew Clyde there that Bob just mentioned from South Carolina on the same day, January 9th of last year, Jeff Duncan, District 3, South Carolina, co-sponsored the bill right out of the gate. Out of the gate.
There's actually a little table right to the left of this that shows you how many co-sponsors from each state there are. North Carolina's got 1, and Florida's got 6. So you got a little catching up to do there, bud. And one of our Florida folks that are on there is, almost my representative. I live just outside of her district. I'm talking about Kat Kamek from Florida District 3. She has been on the bill for as long as she's been in Congress. And thank you, Kat Kamek. Ron and I have interviewed her before. She's a hoot. I like to talk to her.
Scott Perry, Republican from Pennsylvania, District 10. He is a co-sponsor of the fair tax this go round. And I say go round because every Congress it gets reintroduced, and you have to essentially start from the ground to build up your co-sponsors each time it's introduced. So
and unfortunately, all of the co-sponsors on the bill now there are Republicans, and of course we're thankful for support we get from anywhere. But this really needs to be a bipartisan issue. We need to get some more Democrats on this. And Bob Good of Virginia is also an original co-sponsor. He signed on the first day. We got about 5 minutes left. We need to scoot through this pretty quick here, Bob.
Thomas Massey from Kentucky, District 4.
All right. Ralph Norman, South Carolina, District 5.
Bill Posey, Florida, District 8.
All right. Gary Palmer, Alabama 6.
Jim Banks, Indiana, District 3.
Another one from Georgia. This is Barry Loudermilk, District 11 in Georgia.
John R. Carter from Texas, District 31.
Ooh, another Florida guy here. Gus Bilrakis, Florida 12 is on the bill.
Matt Gates, Florida District 1, signed on January 11th last year.
He's a bit of a firebrand, but you talk about somebody that might be polarizing. The next name on the list, we've got Marjorie Taylor Greene, representative from Georgia, District 14. She is a co-sponsor now. She was not before. And so some people are saying, well, that's great. Well, I think somebody with that kind of name recognition that is on the bill is a good thing, even though there are a lot of people that are just not going to like anything she likes just because of who she is. But we're thankful to have Marjorie Taylor Greene on the bill. Thank you, Marjorie.
From Florida District 5, John Rutherford is he signed up, and a lot of the folks either signed up as co-sponsors on the 9th or the 11th of January, and a few trickled in after that, leading all the way to the end of the list. But thank you, John Rutherford from Florida District.
All right. Warren Davidson from Ohio District 8 is a fair tax co-sponsor.
Byron Donalds from Florida District 19.
Yeah, that's a guy we had to work on, but we finally got him on there. Byron Donalds and Mike Collins, another Georgia representative, District 10, is a fair tax co-sponsor.
Barry Moore from Alabama District 2.
Eric Burleson, Missouri, District 7.
Tim Wahlberg from Michigan, District 5.
You're going to take the next one because that's your guy, or a gal, actually.
Virginia Fox, North Carolina District 5.
Now, she is your representative, correct?
This time, I mean, the redistricting it changed 3 times. And we had Patrick McHenry for about 2 minutes. And then Virginia Fox back in. Actually, it was longer than that. Patrick lives down in Hickory. And he has moved into, it's a whole district. The district is all different now. But Virginia Fox, North Carolina 5, came on to the FAIRtax co-sponsorship, and she's been there for quite a while. She's co-sponsored for a long time.
And Andy Biggs from Arizona, District 5, is a FAIRtax co-sponsor.
Dale Strong from Alabama District 5 is a co-sponsor.
And they have not quite updated the list yet. George Santos, New York 3, he was the one that ran into some trouble and is no longer in Congress, but he was a co-sponsor. So hopefully whoever replaces George Santos in New York District 3 can get on the bill as well. Unfortunately, we had a couple of them who withdrew. Blake Moore from Utah and Greg Stubbe here in Florida withdrew their support for the FAIRtax. I think that was when Donald Trump came out against it. It was kind of razzing Ron DeSantis about his support for the sales tax. And so they were having a hard, I think these guys were just playing politics, trying to line up with a front runner. But anyhow, those are all of the co-sponsors on HR 25 as we start 2024. Again, if you live in any of these districts, please take a minute or two. And even if you just drop them a note, an email, a phone call or whatever, thank them for their support of the FAIRtax. But this was especially in lieu of the fact that Grover Norquist's organization tried to get everybody who was a co-sponsor to withdraw their support, and nobody did. So thank you for that as well. We got about a minute left. So again, Bob, I appreciate your efforts here on FAIRtax Power Radio. We've been working together for several years now. I'm looking forward to the day when our work is no longer necessary. We can call the job done, and we won't have to do this podcast every week. But until then, I appreciate you showing up here every week and helping us out.
Absolutely. A tip of the hat in memory of Ron Molero, who with Bob Paxton years ago, almost 400 or so episodes ago, sat down and created FAIRtax Power Radio. So the tip of the hat goes to you and the late Ron Molero and his wife, Elaine, who have stood by the FAIRtax many, many years to make it happen.
Yes. Well, this is episode number 402. If you want to check us out on our FAIRtax Guys YouTube channel, we're also up on Rumble. And again, I'm afraid that's going to wrap up this edition of FAIRtax Power Radio. So Happy New Year again, whether Alabama won or not, and we'll call it Happy New Year. Hopefully we'll have some good news about the FAIRtax to report as 2024 goes on. And of course, this being an election year, this is when the Congress critters will pay more attention to you when you show up at their town halls. Grab one of those scrolling banners from the FAIRtax store and have at it. But so, Bob, again, thanks again for all you do. Until we meet again, thank you so much for liking and sharing the videos. I'm Bob Paxton.
I'm Bob Scarborough.
We are the FAIRtax Guys, reminding you the FAIRtax is the only truly fair tax, and once you understand it,
you demand it.
So what would you do for her?
Well, we've got several programs that will help her. We just need to find out how much she makes. But the good news is, the less she does, the more we can help.
Yeah.
If I may, with the FAIRtax, we wouldn't even tax her income. So the more she makes, the more she has.
But still, a consumption tax could eat up a lot of her income.
Which is why at the beginning of every month, we're actually going to give back all that she pays in taxes on basic necessities.
You're going to give her back her taxes?
Every month, on everything taxed on basic necessities. But we're also going to give it back to you and to every American citizen.
Why?
Well, we believe taxes